All right, I hope you can see my screen. So today we are going to talk about on-prem agents and how we can connect to applications that you're running on a server that is running behind a firewall. So this server could be an AWS system, it could be your data center, whatever. But as long as it is accessible to us, we can install an agent on that, and then the agent is going to be talking to Workato, which is running on the cloud. So the way it works, let me just, if you go to docs.workato.com, we explain all the things that are required for installing the agent. So if you look for on-premise or prem, you'll see this documentation, and it talks about all the different things that are required to install an agent and how it works. So one thing I want to just say up front is that on-prem agent is not available for all plans. So you may want to check with your account person to see if it is available for your plan or not. So once you have access to it, the things that you have to do is install the agent and then create the connection to your systems like database files or other applications like Oracle E-Business Suite or Jira. All of these things will be available to you as normal applications, and you can write recipes with them like any other application. So the way the architecture works is shown here. On Workato, you don't have to do anything, but on your system, you have to install this on-prem agent. And this is the piece which is going to be running and connecting to all of these systems in the back, depending on what you have. So it could be a Jira system, it could be any database, Oracle database, e-business suite, SQL Server, etc. Now, in some cases, you have a firewall, or you may have system configuration that doesn't let you talk outside your system, talk to any system outside your firewall. So in those cases, you have to open up a port and have a proxy. We'll talk about that later on. But in general, if you have access to the outside world from inside your firewall, that should be good enough to install the agent and talk to Workato. Let me go through the different components here. So there's the firewall and there's a WebSocket tunnel here. So if you go down here, you'll see we talk about what are the key components. So one is the tunnel. Was that a question? No. So the two components are, one is the tunneling component, and then the.
There's some folks are not able to hear. Can you just check if they're able to hear you?
How am I going to check?
Just you're unmuted, right?
I am unmuted.
Okay.
Can you put on your thing and see? I am unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So if some of you cannot hear or are still having problems with your audio, please let us know. I think we are checking it here, and looks like we can listen to it. Yeah. Good. Okay. All right. So yeah, I was talking about the two components, core components. So one is the tunneling component, and then there is this, the on-prem agent which is running, which is going to be talking to your database and file systems. And the operating systems that we support today are Windows 7 and 64-bit, and then Mac OS X and Linux 64-bit. So most of you probably will have that. We have not had any problems with that, but if you have had that problem, let us know, or if you have any other systems that you are interested in, let us know. It also talks about the TCP port 3000 should be available for binding, so make sure that is available. What are the steps in installing the on-prem agent? So the first step you have to do is install the agent. So let me go to Workato and show you. So if you go and create a new agent, again, I think the first thing you have to do is you'll see that if you have on-prem access available to you, you'll see on-prem agent available here. So you click on that and you come to this page, and then you say, I want to create a new agent. And here you have to download the agent and download the key. The agent is a bunch of code for actually running the agent, and the key is the certificates that are required to connect to the agent. You can give it a name, and and then set up the agent. Now, what does it look like once you download the agent? Let me go to my Finder window. So I have installed it on my Mac here, and I have there was a zip file which was there. When I unzipped it, I get this kind of a directory which is created for me, Workato agent, and inside it I have the bin, I have the configuration directory where I have my certificates, I have the JRE live, but the main thing that you have to worry about is the bin directory where the actual executable is there, and then the certificate zip, which actually was a download also. I unzipped it and put the certificates here. So there's a certificate key, and then the certificate PEM, and then there is a config file. We'll talk about three of the three different things. Now, this certificate key is actually connecting you to the agent that is running on my machine. So it's very important. So if I run another agent and I copy the same certificate key, it is still going to run as if it is part of that agent. So let me go back to this one here. Oops. Go back to this. So once I install what are the steps to install the agents? I click on the Windows agent button, and I put it into it'll automatically create the program files, Workato agent folder, and then you will download the keys button. I think it's not called keys now. It's called download keys button, and then unzip that file and move the files into the config folder, right? So once you've done that, you're almost done, and then the similar kind of steps on Linux and Mac OS. It's pretty simple. If you just do the whole thing, for me it took about maybe less than 5 minutes to do. So once you're done with that, the next thing that you have to do is go and edit the config.yml file. So this is the file, and inside it there are a bunch of things. You're defining what systems you're connecting with, databases, files, etc. in that file. So let me see if I can show you that file. So this is how it looks. And here you're saying, I have a SQL server, and the local host is blah, the port is 1433 and so on. I'm giving the user code password here. Then there's another Postgres database that I have. Then I have a MySQL database, and then here I have the my files. And these are important. So the file, this is called the profile name. So it will be called base, and this is the link to where it is. And here it is. SQL 3 is the profile name. SQL 2 is the profile name. SQL is the profile name, and so on. So you have to update this file before you start. And once you've set it up, you can start it. You can start it in various ways. You can do a .run, .sh. What is it? If you go back to that command prompt. So here I'm running it right now, and if you look at it, I said this is what I did, and I just run it from here. Where is it? I do the run of the file, and it'll run the agent. Now it is running it in the foreground for me, but on the Windows thing, on Windows machines you can run it as a server. Same thing with Unix. You can run it as a service in the back end. So once you have it running, it shows up here. Like if I go back to my system, you can see that it shows up as active, and it says that there are, excuse me, there are two things that I've defined here. So my files is one of them. So how does it look if I now want to create a recipe here? How does it look? I can go and create a new recipe. And here, when I want to do something, when I want to do this, use that file, I can say File, On-Prem Files, and I can say New File, New, all of these triggers are available to me. I don't know if I have a file. Let's see. And Mac OS X is the one. And I go next. And then it says, where is the file, right? So I can say, it is this one or any of these other ones. So I can say home folder. And home folder. And, let's see, where do I have a file? Let's try here. Maybe there is something. But I don't have a CSV here. Let's see. Let me drop a CSV file into my directory. Well, let's see. Where did it go? No. It's the Slack. Maybe in trash. Okay. So I can go back. So now in home folder, I should see a CSV. App pairs. Oh, this is XLX. It's probably not work. But so you can choose a CSV file, and then then after that point, it is available to you like anything else. So similarly, so here I think because it's if I just do anything else like logger. So here it is, it is showing this file and it's showing line, but if it was a CSV file, you'll see all the details of it. I don't know why it is not showing up, but let me go back and find if that file is still there. On-prem, CSV on-prem file. Okay, let's just try this one instead. So this one again, is it's going to look for new files. So the different types of triggers which are there is one is if I'm looking for new files, new CSV lines, new batch of lines, or new CSV line. So depending on what the application is, you'll see a different set of triggers here. So in this case, what you'll see is not the file details, but you'll see what file came in. So here you're seeing the path, the bytes, and modified date, and so on. Right. So now once so the beauty of this is that once the on-prem file directory is well, let me just go back to the connection first. So after I created my on-prem agent, I can go and create a connection. Right. So I go and create a connection. So on-prem file, and I can select my gateway. I think it was Amlan. And here I have to give the name of the, I think I had base or something, right? What was the directory? So it is base. So that's what I have to put. And if if I'm connected to the right one, it will show me how to, it'll connect to that. I don't know if the on-prem secure agent is this one. The one I had was what? Amlan, yeah, that's the one. On-prem secure agent. For some reason, it didn't connect. Amlan, base. Let's see. Let me go back and look at one which I already have. macOS file, yeah. Yeah, I think it's called my files. It's probably the wrong one. So yeah, so you put in the right one, the right file connection, and then it is going to pick it up. So let's go back to, where is it? Go back to, so that is how files can be detected, and once the connection is set up, you can start using it like anything else. Similarly, if you're connecting to a SQL Server database, the way you do it is you go ahead here and you have connections which you have set up, and SQL Server on-prem. So similar to the other ones, you'll have this kind of definition here, and I can show you the edit connection. So you will put in all the here it is, the on-prem agent is events team, and I name the connection SQL Server on-prem, and the connection profile is digital. So that's how you do it. And then once you go back to the recipe, you will use that in your recipes. I can actually go back from there itself and see it too. That's a SQL Server on-prem. I can see the recipes using this connection. So here, I can pick up one of these. And from this point on, it looks like any other connection that you have, right? So it's looking for Neuro in the SQL Server table, and I'm doing a bunch of things here. I'm searching for accounts in Salesforce, and doing all kinds of things. And this is one where we are just reading SQL Server, but you can also have places where you can write to SQL Server, and it is again the same way. Let's look at one which is writing to SQL Server, this one. And here you can see, it's writing to the SQL Server. Oh, I think it's not connected. So SQL Server create row account, and the fields will come up from the system, from the database, and you can move data to it like you do with anything else. So that's how it works with SQL Server. And I also have one which is set up for Jira. Let me show you how that works. So this is an on-prem Jira. So this is a simple recipe. Again, this has also got a SQL. It's got an on-prem agent, and so the Jira on-prem agent is running. And if I go to the recipes, it looks like any other Jira recipe. And again, this thing is not running, but if you look at the recipe itself, it looks like it looks like any other Jira connection. So the way that you can check the connection is here, and here it is connected to my Jira Connection 4, and if I go to that, you'll see it's a little bit slow here. Okay. We can stop the recipe. So I think it's saying, you have to stop the recipe before you can do anything with it. Which one was it? Okay. Now if I go back to connections. So here you see it's similar to the other one. And my Jira Connection 4, Jira On-Prem, the secure agent. So instead of like the normal Jira, it doesn't ask for a secure agent. So here we are saying there is a secure agent, which is Jira On-Prem. And then down below, I've given the user code password, and that's it. So it's like the normal Jira connection, except for the fact that I'm choosing a secure agent. And actually here it's not showing you, but when you're defining it, you'll have to give the URL for it. So once you're done with it, after that it looks like the same Jira project, a Jira recipe or a Jira connection. And where is that one here? Where is that recipe? Stop. There you go. So it'll work like a Jira connection, normal Jira connection here. So you can see that it looks like that, and if a process job looks exactly like a normal Jira process job, everything is the same. So that's how you connect to files, databases, and on-prem systems. The same way you can do for Oracle EBS systems. We have Oracle EBS connection for this. We connect, like I said, you connect to multiple databases. So here, we talk about the different databases that we connect to: MySQL, Microsoft SQL Server, Oracle database, and Postgres. These are the ones which are supported. And I showed you how to set it up in that config file. And here it tells you how exactly you have to do it. So here's a database, and this is called sales. Here's the URL. Here's the username, password, and so on. We also recently we added connection for on-prem JMS. We support Amazon SQS and ActiveMQ for now. So if you have any JMS endpoints, it can connect to that. And the connection parameters are similarly. You have to, like the database connection parameters, you can give the profile for JMS in this way. Basically, you're saying what's the URL and what's the provider, right? That's the main thing here. And then I talked about proxy. I briefly touched upon proxy server in the beginning. So if you have systems where you cannot exit out from your system, you cannot talk outside, then you have to use a proxy server, and then you have to give in the config file, you have to give your proxy server configuration parameters. So you're telling it what host it is, what port number it is, what's the username password for it. And username password, again, is optional depending on whether it requires it or not. So that is how you set it up. Now, once you update it, once you have started it, like what happens when you are running it and you want to upgrade it. So the normal start is very simple. You can go and you just run it. But once you're, so let's say that a new version is available, you can upgrade it. So when you want to upgrade it, you can just go and download the new installer, you can download a new zip file, and you can install it over your current agent. And when you do that, it is not going to destroy your certificate key or the certificate, the PEM file, and it will also not change your config file. So everything that you have configured will always be there. All you have to do is, shut down the agent, install the new agent, and then restart it. Okay. And the third thing is uninstalling. Again, you can go to Workato. So this is especially on Windows. You see Workato on your desktop, and you can go to Workato and then uninstall it, and it'll automatically uninstall the whole thing. The other thing is browsing the files. So when I'm doing it online here, you can see that messages are coming here directly. So every time I do this, because it's running in the foreground. But if I'm running it as a service, you can go to the file and you can tail it and look at it. So the files are over here in this log files /Workato. That's about it. I think it's pretty simple to use. I would ask you to kind of give it a try. If you don't have access to it, you can ask your account rep to ask for temporary access. We can turn it on, and you can try it. The whole process, if everything is set up properly, it'll take you, when I installed it on my Mac, it took me 5 minutes to do the whole thing. If you're doing it on a Windows server, also it's pretty simple. Now, this is given that everything is properly set up, right? If you have the proxy server issues, or if you cannot reach out from inside, I think we have a troubleshooting section here, which you can look at. Common errors. So here, the common errors and how to solve them are there. You can also go to our support page, and there are some articles there. And then there are some example recipes that we have put here. You can take a look at those. Let me just go to this one. So I think it's the same one that I was showing you before. So here, say from Salesforce, I'm writing to a SQL Server database. And again, it's very similar to the other ones that I showed you, where you're selecting the application, you're searching by rows here, you're selecting the table, and then you're giving the where condition. Now, this is actually interesting. For most of these databases, you have to give the where condition, right? So here it is doing a search, and then if I do an update, create row here, you can see that I'm selecting, similar to the other case there. I'm saying create row. Action is create row. The table is this one, and then I'm adding the data like I did do for anything else, right? And that's about it. I think this one doesn't show. Let me see if there's another example. This is also outbound. So when you're doing the inbound, let's see. In the inbound trigger, you can give a condition. So this is good. You can actually give, this is not showing it properly, but you can give a SQL condition where it'll take inputs based, it'll fetch records based on that SQL condition. So let's see. This is similar to everything else, trigger data and condition is present. If I had one there, I can show you. My SQL Server is down for the moment, so I cannot show you this one here. But you can do conditions here. No, not here. Let me just create a new one here. I think I'll not be able to show it. But if you're doing the trigger, you can see the conditions which show up where it'll give you the options to give a SQL statement to select the data. It's very similar to how on Salesforce you do SOQL statements to filter out the data. It is very similar to that. Any questions?
Yeah, but before we take the questions, folks, I'll just quickly launch a poll. It'll take a minute, just as one question, respond to it. It helps us choose the right topics and decide the format for the product hour. So there's one question. What is your favorite database and apps to make use of text data within documents, PDFs, parse the info, etc.? And so question?
No, you're asking the question on the poll.
No, I'm asking you the question.
Oh, what's the database? Okay.
Yeah, what is your favorite database? Yeah.
So I think I have used SQL Server, MySQL, Postgres, and Workato, all of them. And SQL Server is pretty simple. MySQL is also pretty simple. Now, I want to say that some of these databases are also available without having to do on-prem. So if you have databases which are accessible directly, you don't have to go through on-prem. Like MySQL, you can go directly. They're all the same. It's not very different. The most experience I've had is with MySQL and SQL Server.
Okay, Joe. Hopefully that answers your question. If you have follow-up, just send us an email. The next question, because this agent is installed on a server, what monitoring capabilities are available in Workato, and when things go down, how do you get alerted?
So right now, you can write an admin agent, admin recipe to kind of monitor the recipes, and then if anything goes down, you can get notified. There is nothing from Workato that you can use. There are system tools that you can use on the server to, monitor whether something is running or not. So what people do especially on Windows, I know, they'll set it up as a service. So if it goes down, it'll automatically bring it up.
Okay.
Similarly, on Unix systems, also you can do something like that where it is going to always keep it running. What we don't have today is it doesn't have a fault-tolerant pair. We are working on that.
Okay.
So once that comes up, once one goes down, the other one will pick it up from there. In terms of data loss, there should not be any data loss, because the way we work is, if the system goes down, we will go back and ask the source system for the data again from the last point we checked. So there should be no loss of data when the system goes down.
So it works the same way. If the agent goes down and it's brought back up,
yeah,
we resume from where we left off.
It'll pick up everything from there.
Okay.
There's another question that people ask me, which maybe even if people have, I'll answer that question. Do I run just one agent or do I run multiple agents? So sometimes what happens is, your agent is, if the load is not very high and you have all the systems on-prem that are all the on-prem systems are accessible from this server, then you can run it with one agent. Sometimes all the applications are not available from the same server. So in that case, you'll set up two different agents. But the point is that one agent can connect to multiple apps by giving different profiles. In some cases, you may want to set it up differently where accessibility is an issue, or possibly, volume is an issue. If there's a high volume transactions, maybe you want to set up different agents and run them to talk to one database and another one to Jira and so on.
Okay, so there's a question from Venkat. His question is, if you could show how mapping between systems work. like the example, the use case he has is order is sent by system A in XML format and order management system process as expecting it in JSON, it accept data on REST API. So
you are going to convert from the data coming in from Oracle to convert it to a JSON format?
Yeah, I think it's probably unrelated to this on-prem agent. It's a more generic question. Like if you get data in XML format from one system and the other system is expecting, like a REST API is expecting it in JSON, how do you do the conversion between two data formats? Yeah,
so I think, that's a different, maybe we just write it down and get back to
Venkat, we'll follow up with you separately. This is kind of off topic, but we can definitely cover this with you over an email.
And I think the way to do that in general, I would say, is that you have to construct the data out of that, and then we can show it to him how to do that. Any other questions? Okay.
And just to confirm, like these agents, like when typically when these are installed, you're talking to your IT team. These are pretty lightweight. There's no server configuration required, right? It's
no. Let me just since we are talking about it, I didn't go through that whole process. Let me just show you how simple it is to do it. Let's see. So I just do download agent. Let me just rename my current one. I'll just stop my. And then I'll just rename my directory. Let's just call it, where is it? Workato agent. So I download the agent, and this is Mac, and I'm just doing it on my desktop. It's gone. Download the key. Same thing. Desktop. Done. And then I come here. I have the agent. I unzip it. And that creates this agent directory, and this is how it looks. You have the bin file that we saw, the config file, JRE, etc. You don't want to worry about all of this. The config file and the bin file are the ones you care about. And then I have the certificate zip. And here what I have to do, it created these two files. So what I'll do is I'll copy these two files. And I'll bring it here. And that's all, So now I'm ready to go. Now the next thing I have to do is I have to configure this file. And I put in whatever I want here, so I can just say base. So depending on, the system, you may have different formats. So this is the format for Windows files. And once you do that, you're ready to go. And then once you run it, so if I run it right now, if I just go and run this, where did it go? Where am I? This has been CD back to. So that's about it. That's all you have to do to run the agent. So how long did it take? 2 minutes, 3 minutes? And the only thing you have to do after, before that, if you have a database or a file system, you just have to configure that config file. That's all that is required.
Okay. And for folks who just witnessed the whole CD, if there's a friendly UI version of it, you can navigate to the file. Amlan likes the command prompt more. So.
Yeah, I mean, whatever suits your, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Basically, that's about it. That's what you have to do.
So it's pretty lightweight. There's no.
It's very lightweight. I think the main thing is to figure out the database. Like in this directory, we are showing you how to set up the URL.
Right.
There are two ways in which you can specify the listing here. This is the plain JDBC listing format, and then there's the other format, right? I think we talked about that in the documentation. Yeah. So if you have any problems with connecting, let us know. We can help you with that. I think we talked about it in here.
Yeah, I think this is an add-on question from Scott. How memory intensive is the agent?
It's not at all intensive. It's very lightweight. You can try it out. And people have been running with one agent. I know of people who have been running, connecting to 10, 15 backend systems. So it should be pretty. And again, of course, it depends on what volume you're dealing with. But for normal volumes, it's not at all heavy. Yeah, where is it? So there are some, instructions. They do not use spaces or special characters in connection profile name and so on that you can read from here.
Okay.
Also here it is, I think, where the database type is specified either by a adapter property or a complete JDBC URL in the URL property. Port numbers can be omitted when matching defaults for a given database. So if you have, if you have trouble connecting to your database, let us know. We'll help you. Okay. Good. Any other questions? No questions. And I just wanted to mention that people have been connecting to Jira also in the same way. So if you have on-prem Jira, this is a good way to connect to Jira.
Well, maybe I have one question. Like when you're connecting to databases, right? Typically, like DBAs, they create different schemas. Like for marketing, there might be a different schema, and the username password could be different. So you'll have to create separate entries for each schema. For example, if this sales team needs to access the database
with different user code password, exactly.
So multiple entries for.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So each profile will be with a certain user code password.
Okay.
Yeah. That will give it the permissions necessary. Yeah. All right. If there are no other questions, thank you very much. And the next session is 2 weeks from now, or is it later?
Okay, there's one last question from Tristan. Where can we go to look at the UI from what a user would see?
User would see in terms of the connections?
So the part where the server runs, I think probably if we go to the on-prem agent, we show like that the on-prem agent is running, right? The status of the on-prem agent, probably that's. Christian, just let me know if that's what you're looking for or if you're expecting something different.
So this is where it shows active. And then if I click on this, I see the connections that I have, the profiles. So this is my file, and I think I have two files and an HTTP. But if I had database connections, I think if I go to the other one, I will see the database connections there. This one, if I go to, I will see all the connections that I have for that agent. So there are 4 on. So here are the default at the connections that I've set up. So there's a SQL server, there's a file, 2 files, and 1 HTTP.
Okay.
And do you want to look at the Jira one? Let's see that one. Okay, so
Okay.
that's what shows up. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, great. Thank you, guys. And if there are any questions, please send it to us and we'll answer it. And yeah, if you have any problems with connecting to your endpoints, the databases, let us know. We'll help you out. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Amlan.
Bye.
That's good.